famous than Woodstock Willie or Punxsutawney Phil, and more accurate to boot. Also tracking just how long winter could last.
All right, we thank you for joining us here on Good Day Chicago at 7 o'clock. Hope your Monday morning is off to a great start. And
Look at this graphic back here.
Gosh,
Who made
Mike.
that? I wish I could take credit for that.
Did you work all weekend on that?
I was a painting, in the studio, making that graphic there. Yeah, Punxsutawney Phil says we have more winter ahead, 6 more weeks, but Willie has yet to speak, and we are hoping he has better news for us locally. What I can tell you is that this is the last month of meteorological winter, and that's a fact. That is a fact. Meteorological spring starts March the 1st. And next week we have a turn in temperatures toward some prolonged warmth. How about that? Now today, it's going to be cold, colder than normal, but so much better than last week. We got mid to upper 20s on the way. We'll be drying out from this little freezing drizzle that's out there now by 9. At noon, chilly and cloudy, and then maybe a few peaks of sun late in the afternoon with that temperature right around 27. Everything is blue. I think we need to white balance our camera there. 23 cloudy at O'Hare. Just enough wind to produce a wind chill of 15. Other current temperatures, we've got 24 in Morris, 22 at Waukegan, in Woodstock, where Willie's about to appear, 20 degrees, 23 at Gary, 23 in Michigan City. Anthony Ponce taking over the travel details. How's our commute doing?
Hey, in the green across the board, although traffic times are starting to stack up just a little bit here. If you're coming in on the Kennedy from O'Hare, you're at a 41-minute ride downtown. On the Eisenhower, you're at 42 minutes inbound from Route 390 to downtown, and on the Stevenson, travel time is 34 minutes. A couple of minor backups as you pass Midway, Cicero right there. I-355 to DuSable Lakeshore Drive, that's a 34-minute ride. And on the Dan Ryan, 95th to downtown, you are at 32 minutes.
Well, it is Groundhog Day, which means Woodstock Willie is getting ready to make a very big prediction.
Let's take a live look from Woodstock, Illinois. There is the status of the ceremony right now. Looks like they got a pretty big turnout there. He will decide if we will get 6 more weeks of winter or an early spring. Punxsutawney Phil saw his shadow, which means, according to Phil, we got 6 more weeks of winter, but apparently the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration ranked Willie way higher on the accuracy scale. He came in at number 7. Phil came in at number 17. So when Willie makes his prediction, we got to put a lot more stock into that.
Well, and I like what they're doing here as far as warming things up with the heat lamps. I say get a little hot tub for Woodstock Willie.
Sure.
Maybe some beverages. Let's make him as comfortable as possible.
I agree. I'm impressed at the crowd on a Monday morning. And we are waiting word right now to see what he sees or not. I mean, does it look like there's a little sunshine right there? The sun's shining on those buildings back there. So we're standing by. We will.
Hey, let me introduce a couple other people that are part of this.
Seems like there's some pomp and circumstance to get through before Willie comes out. Okay, we're going to go to a couple other stories. We'll check back in with the festivities in Woodstock in just a minute. Whenever Willie comes out, we'll be back.
Sounds good, Anthony. After years of warnings, the real ID deadline is here, and it could cost you if you don't have one. Roseanne Tellez is live at O'Hare Airport this morning. Hi, Roseanne.
Good morning. Yes, that's right. You may still be able to board your flight, but it is going to cost you $45, and you're going to need to step aside to fill out some forms as well. So unfortunately, if you're in this position, you're in this position. But if you have a valid passport or you have a military ID, you're okay. Those are acceptable forms of ID. And plenty of people we talk to are carrying them today. But if you don't have that passport or military ID or the real ID, you can still use the Confirm ID system. Now, that verifies your identity using your name, address, and birth date. You can do it online at tsa.gov. And you can do that before you head to the airport today. The TSA says you can also add a digital ID to your phone with your passport information. Now, the majority of people we talked to this morning were prepared, and some even happy to get a real ID.
No, it is important for security. I like that, It makes us feel better and safe.
You have your ID today?
I did not know.
Oh, and what was your story?
Last minute.
Procrastinator?
Yeah.
Very, very so, yes.
Did you know you were going to have to pay $45?
Yes, I did. It's all right.
Do you not fly a lot, or you think
No,
you're going to...
I haven't flown in like 20 plus years, so.
Yes, you know, like Michael, there are some people, it just wasn't a high priority. They don't head to the airport. But unfortunately, he did have to pay that extra amount. He's going to Mexico, so I don't think he was, you know, it's tempered by that. He's heading to warmer weather. So the confirm ID, I do want to tell you, though, it's a good thing he's going for less than 10 days because those IDs are only good 10 days or you have to buy another one. So if you were heading out today for 2 weeks, for example, you'd be paying $90 for that confirm ID. And earlier we talked about just how long we've all been kicking this can down the road. The original Real ID deadline was actually 2008, but many things have happened since then, and it's finally here. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you, Roseanne. 7:05 now this morning. The man charged in the death of a pregnant woman in Downers Grove is back in jail.
Gabriela Primus has that and the other top stories we are following this morning. Gabby?
Natalie Anthony, 19-year-old Nitas Ravukis was hospitalized in critical condition after authorities say he purposely injured himself in jail. Ravukis is accused of stabbing 30-year-old pregnant mother Eliza Morales and setting her apartment on fire. According to court documents, he was upset about the condition of a truck he bought from her husband on Facebook Marketplace. Ravukis is charged with first-degree murder, armed robbery, and arson, among other counts. A Hinsdale spa owner accused of taping his customers with a hidden camera is expected back in court today. Jason Spencer is charged with 5 felonies. Police say they started investigating Reflection Spa after getting an anonymous tip. They found hidden cameras in treatment rooms along with a recording device and hard drive. This afternoon, high school students on Chicago's north side plan to walk out of class to protest ramped up immigration enforcement. The students are expected to rally at River Park, where a couple city council members will also speak. Another water main break in Dixmoor is affecting more than half of the community. The break happened Sunday at 139th between Dixie Highway and Thornton Road. And this just days after a water main break forced schools to close. No word yet on when crews will get things fixed up there, but of course we'll keep you updated here, also on fox32chicago.com when we learn some more. Anthony, Natalie.
Thank you. All right, we want to head back out to Woodstock Willie. Let's listen in.
Talk to him or what? You know how this goes.
Yes, my darling. Yes, my darling. Yes, my love. Yes, my sweet one. Yes, my darling. And what's the story? Oh, really? Really?
Yeah, he's talking.
Oh, my God. So,
Okay. Do you want to announce it or?
Oh no.
Oh no, you got it.
You got it. I'll take that
Thank
for
you. Okay.
This is a prognostication that can only come from a live groundhog.
Wow. This February 2nd at 7:07 a.m., Woodstock Willie, the seer of seers, prognosticators of prognosticators, emerge reluctantly but alertly in Woodstock, Illinois, to wish the faithful followers a happy Groundhog Day. And here we go, folks. Willie looked skyward to the east, then behind to the ground, and stated clearly in Groundhogese, "I definitely do not see a shadow. Spring is coming."
Well done. Steven! Bring him over, huddle up. No, set it down. Huddle up for a few pictures. Facing this way. Come on in, Willie.
Which way?
Just facing this way to start, then we'll turn.
Gotcha.
We're going to turn in a second.
All right, we can all breathe a collective sigh of relief Punxsutawney Phil gave us a little scare there. Lasted about a half hour. We were a little concerned that winter was going to linger, but I'm glad Willie clarified things
Forget
for us.
all of those horrible things I said about groundhogs earlier today. My faith has been restored, Mike Kaplan.
Well, first of all, and as we were watching this live with all of you, can we not agree who is the better looking groundhog?
No question.
Willie was absolutely, he was moving, he looked alert. Punxsutawney Phil was like barely moving.
Gabriella stuck her head in the studio and said, hey, Willie's way more lively.
Yes.
That hit the nail on the head right there. Way more lively, way more alert. I trust him way more.
And with all due respect, I'll take Ned Ryerson, making the call there. Stephen Tobolowsky, he's a phenomenal character actor. Just take a look at all of his credits on IMDb. But it's nice that he comes there to Woodstock every year. But a wonderful forecast, and we got to place maybe more credence in what Willie says for two reasons. He's local, and as Natalie pointed out, what is he, seventh best prognosticator, animal prognosticator in
Phil's way down to number 17.
So he's got it right, and I am going to endorse Woodstock Willie's forecast. Although there is a little yicky winter out there right now. This morning we have some freezing drizzle. Some of you have seen a couple flakes of snow. Hardly any of this is showing up on radar. It is so light. You can see a couple of echoes out over the lake, and maybe you can detect this slight bluish shade here east of I-57. But we could see, a little speckle of drizzle at almost any time. Temperatures, they're below freezing. They're below normal. However, instead of looking at 4 below zero or a 2, we got temperatures in the 20s. So compared with last week, this is easier to take. 26 at Joliet, where Willie came out, it's 20. It's 23 at O'Hare and Gary, 23 at Michigan City. I am predicting a high today of 28 degrees, which will be a similar temperature range for much of the upcoming week. West winds at 5 to 15. We've got some early morning freezing drizzle or a couple of snowflakes. That'll just be mostly cloudy and cold. But temperatures, while this week will remain colder than normal, next week, we've got a warm-up on the way. I'll share the extended temperature forecast with you in just a couple of minutes. Back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mike. Appreciate it. We are counting down to Super Bowl 60. Right after this break, we will show you all the work that goes into getting the field itself ready for football's biggest game. Stay with us.
Pay attention.
Why do I need the rest?
Okay, welcome back. 7:15. A little cloud cover there as we take a look at Prue Tower. We'll check back in with Mike in just a moment about some slightly warmer temperatures this week, which should be good. It'll feel nice compared to what we've been going through the last week or 10 days. But before we get to Mike, let's get to some news.
The city of Harvey will pick a new mayor today after the death of Mayor Christopher Clark. Gabrielle Primus following today's top stories. Gabby?
Yeah, Natalie, Anthony, we learned about this last week. Clark was elected in 2019 and re-elected in 2023. His death was just announced on Friday. He was a father and a grandfather. Clark was said to be battling an illness and was in and out of the hospital for the last 6 weeks. 6 alderpersons will choose someone to serve out the rest of his term, which is a little over 2 years. The special city council meeting will be at 6 p.m. at Harvey City Hall. New work requirements are in effect for people who receive SNAP benefits. Adults up to age 64 without young children are now required to work or volunteer at least 80 hours per month to maintain their eligibility for food assistance. Illinois state officials estimate as many as 400,000 people could lose their benefits under the new rule. SNAP recipients have until March 1st to show proof of their work or volunteer status. If you're flying and don't have that real ID, the new fee is now in effect. For $45, you can use the Confirm ID system to verify your identity using your name, address, and birth date online at tsa.gov. Confirm ID is valid for just 10 days of travel, meaning if you take a 2-week trip, you'll have to pay the fee once more. Travelers who don't have the real ID can avoid the fee if they have their passport or military ID. Natalie, Anthony.
Thank you, Gabby. The countdown is on to the Super Bowl. Both the Seahawks and the Patriots touch down Sunday in San Jose to start prepping for the big game. Crews are hard at work getting the field at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California, in tip-top shape for Super Bowl 60. Before kickoff, they spend days. They install the field, they mow, they fertilize. Meanwhile, they're also testing the safety of the field. A machine called the Beast simulates player movement to see how their cleats will interact with the surface.
The Beast will apply loads that are equivalent to the loads NFL players apply to the surface when they're playing. We've studied those conditions in a biomechanical way and used those data to inform what conditions this device needs to test for.
Field isn't just being primed for athletes, it's also getting ready for Latin superstar Bad Bunny, this year's halftime show performer.
Mike, my question about that Beast machine is, couldn't they save a lot of money on a machine by just
having some dudes
play football on the field?
Oh, goodness.
That's right. I bet there's some people in the local area that
would be happy.
Yeah. Hey, you guys, got a semi-pro team. How would you like to come out here? We just want to test the turf and see how it's going. Exactly. Yeah. You're right. Hey, take a look at that shot there. We have some lower visibility. Skyfox was unable to fly today because of this gunk that's in the air, too. We've seen some mist, which has been freezing on untreated surfaces. The overnight snow was not a big deal. We didn't expect it to be, but there is still some residual frosting on top of the bean from last week. Temperature-wise, most of Chicagoland in kind of the low to mid-20s. We've got 27 at LaSalle. That's one of the warm spots. But 23, a pretty popular number. Aurora, O'Hare, Midway, Michigan City, Gary, and Rensselaer. Got 24 at Kankakee and in Woodstock, where if you missed it, Woodstock Willie says spring is just around the corner. And indeed, it does look like in the extended forecast, like next week, we have a thaw on the way, not just a day where it hits 32, as you'll see in the 7-day. I'm talking about some 40s on the way for more than a day at a time. Today, let's settle for 28. A lot of cloud cover. This early morning freezing drizzle and maybe a couple of snow flurries going to move out of here, leaving behind mostly cloudy skies, and it will be cold. There's a chance for a few snow showers tonight. Not a big deal with that. We'll have a high of 28 again tomorrow. Maybe some lake effect snow, light, going into northwest Indiana. Wednesday's high will be behind a cold front, so the high drops a little bit to 25. Then we hit 30 on Thursday, 32 on Friday, with a couple of snow showers around Thursday night and Friday. Again, no big snowstorms in sight. It does get colder Saturday and Sunday, but after that, into next week, we've got some much milder air on the way. I still think we've got 40s coming here next week. Won't that feel nice? All right, Anthony, we have, looks like a little bit more traffic out there.
Yeah, things stacking up a little bit more. more out there. We have some yellow and red on our traffic map. A little bit longer of a ride inbound on the Kennedy from O'Hare. You're now at 48 minutes with a couple of slowdowns in toward downtown on the Eisenhower. 46 minutes inbound from Route 390 to downtown, and on the Stevenson, that's now up to 41 minutes as the backup as you pass Cicero gets a little bit more congested there. Dan Ryan, it's a 38-minute ride between 95th and downtown. And I do want to point out that the Union Pacific Northwest, there's a couple delays on the inbound side of the Union Pacific Northwest, so check that Ventra app before you head to the train station. We'll be right back.
Fox 32 News.
Welcome back. A Chicago woman shot by a Border Patrol agent wants authorities to release the body cam footage in her case. Federal agents say that Marimar Martinez rammed their car before they shot her multiple times. Charges against her were later dropped. Now, Martinez is going to be speaking about her case in Washington, D.C. tomorrow, and her attorney, Christopher Parente, is here to talk about this. Christopher, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me start off by asking you, what is the event that your client is going to be speaking at in Washington, D.C., and why is it important for her to be there?
Yeah, you know, she was invited to speak. It's a forum put on by Senator Blumenthal, a senator from Connecticut, who's head of Investigations Committee. And it's important for her to be there. You know, there's a song in Hamilton the musical. It's who lives, who dies, who tells your story, right? So in these cases, when ICE is shooting these people and they're dying, like Miss Good and Mr. Preddy and Mr. Gonzalez here in Chicago, ICE tells the story. And what we've seen is ICE is not a reliable narrator, right? When ICE tells the story, speaking of Groundhog's Day, it's always the same thing, right? Domestic terrorist, ramming officers, attempted assassins. It's always what it is. Well, you know, for Miss Martinez, she survived, so she gets to tell her own story, and that's important to her. And when people like Miss Martinez survive these bullets by ICE, they prove that ICE is not a reliable narrator in these events. And so what we did, because she survived these 5 bullets from this ICE agent, is we were able to show the U.S. Attorney's Office ICE is not a reliable narrator. She was not a domestic terrorist. She didn't ram these people. She didn't drive at the agent. She's a Montessori school teacher with no criminal history who was on her way to donate clothes on Saturday morning when she was shot by ICE. So, look, she's going to D.C. We know it's not going to change this administration, but it's important for people in the future, when they look back at this time in our nation's history, and I think they will look back at it with disgust at some point, that the story is told from those who lived, and we don't have to rely on this administration's false narrative that all of these people are domestic terrorists, that they were trying to hurt these ICE agents. That's not what was happening here. And so we want her story documented from her who has survived and who has lived.
Okay, so the charges against her have all been dropped. You want this body cam footage released. Will you talk more about that effort and the status of that effort?
Yeah, and it's not just the body camera we want released. We want the text messages released. We want the emails released. We want all of the evidence in this case, because despite the U.S. Attorney's Office dismissing all charges with prejudice, you know, DHS continues to put out these statements about Ms. Martinez, continuing to say she's a domestic terrorist, that she rammed these agents, that she drove at them, when the evidence in the case shows that's not true. And that's why the government dismissed the case. So on one hand, you have the federal prosecutor saying, we're going to dismiss all the charges because we can't prove this to a jury, because juries want reliable narrators, and the U.S. Attorney's Office knows ICE is not reliable in this case. And on the other hand, ICE keeps putting out these false statements about her, and we're handcuffed that we can't show the American people that's not what happened. That's why they dropped the case, because it's not true. What ICE is telling you, what DHS is telling you, what Tricia McLaughlin, the Assistant Secretary of ICE, is saying repeatedly is not true. And the government knows that, and we should be allowed to let the people see what the evidence actually is.
You mentioned before we went on that Miss Martinez can't quite close her right hand.
Right.
How is she doing physically at this point?
Yeah, and again, I mean, think about that. The agent that shot her that day is a firearms instructor, 20-year agent with the Border Patrol, and he shot her 5 times, and so holes riddled throughout her body. And she can no longer squeeze her hand all the way, right? So she's a Montessori school teacher, beloved Montessori school teacher. At her hearing, over 20 parents showed up to her initial appearance, 50 letters to the judge saying that this woman is empathetic, loving woman, never, no issues with her at all. They all loved her with her children. Now she can't even teach these kids motor skills because she herself can't squeeze these blocks or play with them. I mean, and that's just the physical scars. The mental scars of knowing your own government tried to assassinate you on a Saturday morning as you're driving to donate clothes to your church. I mean, that's going to take forever.
Okay, this hearing tomorrow, you guys are heading out this afternoon. Is it going to be streamed online? Do you know? Okay, do you know where to catch that if people want to tune in?
I can send you the link, but yep, Senator Blumenthal's office put out a press release on this with a link to anyone who wants to watch it, and I will get it to your station.
All right, keep us posted. Christopher Parente, appreciate you joining the program.
Thanks for having
this morning. Okay, it's 7:28. Mike, I'm going to send it over to you.
All right.
On this Groundhog Day.
And one groundhog says winter is going to last forever. Our local groundhog says, nah, spring is just around the corner. Let's go with Willie. We have some chilly weather this week, but not as cold as last week. I've got an improving forecast for you coming up.
7:30 now, and today marks 18 years since the shocking murders of 5 female store employees at a Tinley Park Lane Bryant store. A man posing as a delivery driver pulled out a gun, forced the women into a back room, and fatally shot them. A store employee who survived the shooting gave police a description of the killer, but that person has never been found.
The presidential election is still more than 2 years away, but Illinois is already making a push to have the first Democratic primary. The DNC says they would hear pitches from 12 states wanting to be the first primary on the calendar, and that does include Illinois. Usually the first primaries have been held in New Hampshire, Iowa, Nevada, and South Carolina.
The finalists are revealed for the Name a Chicago Snowplow contest. You have until Valentine's Day to pick your favorite from a list of 25. 6 names will win. And some of the finalists for you: Monty the Piping Plower, Buckingham Plowton, Mustard Snow Ketchup, and plowing 6-7 inches, which I'm sure my 5-year-old would love.
Huh. Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah, and you can vote 6 times. That's cool. All right, there's new changes to the SNAP program as well, and a lot of people are going to be impacted right here in Illinois.
Saquon is live with those changes and what we can expect. Say.
Hey, good morning to you. This could have major impacts here. Right now, 42 million people across the country rely on SNAP benefits just to put food on the table. And if you remember, at the end of last year, they already kind of felt the impacts after losing access to those benefits during the government shutdown, which were later restored. Now, under the president's so-called One Big Beautiful Bill, which passed last summer, it essentially makes it harder for people to be eligible for SNAP with stricter work requirements. Under that bill, we know $186 billion in SNAP funding were also cut through the year 2034. So here are the new work requirements. Again, they're in effect now. Anyone between the ages of 18 and 64 must either work, volunteer, or participate in some sort of work or educational training program for at least 80 hours a month. Under previous rules, the maximum age for work requirements was 54. Veterans, young adults who grew up in foster care, and people experiencing homelessness are no longer exempt from these work requirements like they used to be under previous rules. And people in the U.S. under asylum and refugee laws are no longer eligible for SNAP benefits at all. There are exemptions, though, and that does include people living with disabilities, people who are pregnant, or if you have a child at home under the age of 14. If you are exempt, you are encouraged to fill out and submit a form as soon as possible on the DHS website. We also talked to a local food bank about the new changes to SNAP and the widespread impacts those changes could have.
We are bracing ourselves for yet another hunger crisis. I mean, you're correct. You know, during the recent government shutdown, we saw what happens and the hunger and hardship that was unleashed on this city and on this country when you take away access to SNAP. It's a critical lifeline for many, 2 million people actually in the state of Illinois. And we estimate that around 200,000 SNAP participants will be affected by these work requirements and will not be able to show that they have an exemption and are at risk of losing their benefits starting May the 1st.
Yeah, so just to reiterate here, people who don't meet the new requirements will only be eligible for benefits for 3 months every 3 years. And as mentioned, the date here to watch is May 1st because people could start losing access to those benefits starting on that day. The state also has a free online tool that you can use to kind of figure out whether you have to meet the work requirements or whether you are exempt. You can find that free resource online on the state's website under the AID portal. Guys, back to you.
All right, thank you, Say, for that report. The newest batch of the Jeffrey Epstein files has more people in Great Britain demanding answers about a royal family member.
Gabriella is here with more.
Yeah, this is interesting. New photos appear to show the former Prince Andrew. He was stripped of his royal titles early on because of his connection to Jeffrey Epstein, if you remember. The images show him kneeling over an unidentified woman. In some photos, his hands are on the woman's abdomen. The files also reference an invitation for Epstein to dine at Buckingham Buckingham Palace. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer called on U.S. lawmakers to subpoena Andrew to testify before Congress. President Donald Trump says Iran has been conducting serious negotiations with the U.S. He has not said if he has decided to launch a military strike against the nation. The president has warned the U.S. could take military action if Iran does not agree to negotiate a nuclear deal. He made similar threats during Iran's violent crackdown on anti-government protests.
Sir, on Iran, the Supreme Leader today said that U.S. attack could spark a regional war. Do you have any response to that, sir?
Why wouldn't he say that? Of course you're going to say that, but we have the biggest, most powerful ships in the world over there, very close, a couple of days, and hopefully we'll make a deal. If we don't make a deal, then we'll find out whether or not he was right.
The Pentagon has sent the USS Abraham Lincoln, an aircraft carrier, to the region. And Democrats pick up some surprising wins in special elections in Texas. Taylor Ramett won a special election for a state Senate seat in the Fort Worth area, a district President Trump had won by 17 points in 2024. Ramett defeated his Republican opponent by 14 percentage points in a district held by the GOP since 1992. And Democrat Christian Menefee won a special runoff for the 18th congressional district. It cuts the Republican lead in the House down to 4 seats. Natalie.
Gabby, NASA's trip to the moon might be in a little trouble this month.
Brian Jackson is here with more on why. Brian?
Well, NASA had planned to do a big rehearsal of the Artemis mission, but cold weather is what canceled it. NASA had planned to do what is called a wet dress for the mission this weekend. That is where the rocket is fueled, and just to make sure that there's no leaks and all systems would be a go. The rocket cannot be gassed up when the temperature is below 41 degrees. You may remember the Challenger disaster was partially caused by cold temperatures and how it affected the solid rocket boosters. NASA wants to try again later tonight, but not everyone thinks that will happen either.
We're going to have to take a real close look at Monday night, and I don't think it's favorable at this point.
You could have heaters that would heat up the gases there if there's a concern about any specific area.
And when that test does happen, the crew will take the countdown all the way to 33 seconds. That delay to rehearse has also pushed the launch date back to the 11th. If it can't go then, Artemis will have to wait until March. It is supposed to take a 4-person crew to the other side of the moon and back. So, Mike, we're not the only ones dealing with some below average temperature.
No. Did you see some of the snow in the Carolinas over the weekend? Wow. And it did snow once again in parts of northern Florida. We still have a little bit of fog, some mist, which is creating a few slippery spots on untreated surfaces. So watch out for that this morning. This is going to be another cold week. However, not as cold. We have a few chances for light snow. No big snowstorm at all. We have some snow showers that may hit late tonight, again tomorrow near the lake, and maybe tomorrow night into Wednesday morning. No big deal. Temperatures remain at or below normal most of the week, but it won't be as cold. Chance of hitting freezing maybe on Friday, and that's just the beginning. After a cold weekend, next week signs are pointing towards an actual thaw. Not going to thaw anything today. It is 26 at Joliet, one of the warmer spots, 23 in Merrillville, 23 at Chicago's lakefront, Woodstock, where Willie, the Groundhog, said winter's almost over. Spring is just around the corner. It is 21 degrees. Cloud cover today. It's going to be remaining fairly resilient. Maybe some breaks in the afternoon. You'll get a better chance of that the farther west you are. Tonight, another disturbance comes in from the west. This one could produce a couple hours of light snow, maybe enough to recoat the ground. And then tomorrow, you see a little bit of lake effect. Also, nothing like what we saw last week. Little lake effect going into northwest Indiana. Oh, maybe enough to put down a half-inch in a few spots. But you'll be able to get around. This is not going to be blinding whiteout stuff that just keeps pouring in one location. Wednesday will be a little bit colder, but we'll see a mixture of clouds and sun. Today, 28, maybe a peak of sun late in the day, mostly cloudy. This precip is ending. Tonight, brief snow shower, not a big deal, 16 degrees for the low. Tomorrow up to 28 again, 25 Wednesday, then a pair of 30s, a 30 and a 32 for Thursday and Friday. Maybe some light snow Thursday night into Friday morning. Yes, it's colder over the weekend, but it warms up next week. I think we've got some 40s on the way. 3 photos to share with you, including this one from Deanna Jade, lead singer of the Jersey Girls, friend of the show. She and her hubby are enjoying some beautiful Dominican Republic weather there, and I've been texting her saying, you know, it's cold here. That is a beautiful shot there in the Caribbean. Thanks, Deanna. Next up, how about that? From Greg O'Neill, this is a northern flicker. And sometimes the nickname of this is a yellow-shafted flicker. It's a type of woodpecker. And when those wings open up, there's bright yellow underneath. That is a cool shot there, Greg. That's usually kind of a furtive, a shy bird. Difficult to photograph, but you got it. And take a look at this. This was the Ice Festival. And I forget what town that was in. Do we have the town or the contributor for that? But this not as big as the Lake Geneva show that Jake Hamilton featured for us last week. But that is a Downers Grove. All right, in Downers Glen. All right, Glenn, I'm going to give you the credit for that. Our friend Glenn Cuppert was out there following some of the ice sculpting that was going on. That is a cool-looking penguin out there in the snow. And if you missed it, Woodstock Willie did not see his shadow, which means spring is just around the corner. And we're just around the corner after this commercial break.
We turn
Welcome back. The mother of today's show host, Savannah Guthrie, is missing this morning in Arizona. Her name is Nancy Guthrie. She's 84 years old, and she was last seen on Saturday night in Tucson. The Guthrie family only says it appreciates the concern and is right now working with law enforcement to find Nancy. Police say the scene makes it suspicious, and they have not ruled anything out.
It's not standard. Typically, our homicide team comes out when we have a homicide, a body. This one was a fake simply because of what the scene was telling us.
Okay, the sheriff says Nancy Guthrie was not in good health, and it is right now a search and rescue mission. Homicide detectives were also called to process the house, which the sheriff says is not a normal step in a typical missing persons case.
There are large parts of the country still dealing with power outages today, including Brooklyn, New York. Con Edison says the wave of outages are because of equipment damage from melting snow mixed with road salt entering and stressing the system. Aside from that, Con Ed says snow and ice are piled on top of manholes, making it really hard for crews to gain access for crucial repairs. While some people report experiencing a total loss of power, others are only seeing a portion of their utilities out of commission.
We were thinking we would do another hotel stay, but it's just really tough with our 2 dogs and having to go to work tomorrow and figuring out where to work and how to get to work. So, yeah, we're just kind of taking it as it comes.
I'm lucky. I don't have any heat, but I do have electric in the kitchen, in the bathroom. It's getting colder the longer I go without heat, but I'm kind of sandwiched between 2 higher levels, so my old building actually seems to have some good insulation.
It's been a week since a snowstorm, and power outages are not the only issue the city is dealing with. Snow removal continues as more sanitation workers have been brought in to clear snow and ice from streets and sidewalks. The FDA says it's learning some new information about a multi-state outbreak of botulism in babies tied to ByHeart formula. The feds say 2 companies processed and supplied dried milk powder that could be a culprit in the outbreak that has sickened dozens of babies. The exact source of the contamination, however, is not yet known. Both companies and the U.S. Food and Drug Administration emphasized the investigation into the outbreak is still ongoing.
All right, 7:46 on your Monday morning. Here's a quick look at what is coming up on Good Day Chicago during our 8 and 9 o'clock hours. So we hope you stay with us.
Hi, Dad.
Taking a live look at the Bean, partially covered in snow still this morning. I was reading ahead to Mike's weather note that he always gives us, and he says that there could be a melt on the way. We cannot wait for that, Mike Kaplan. He'll give us more details in just a second. Meantime, the South is still frozen today, and a lot of course, that area not used to getting it.
That's right. Gabriella is here with more on how they are dealing down south. Hey, Gabriella.
Oh my gosh, and just to give you an idea of what life is like down there, some police cars can't even move. Greensboro police showed us video of a patrol vehicle with the front wheel frozen. It would not move when the motor was revved up, so police had to actually get out a heat gun to thaw it out so it could get moving. It eventually worked. Well, if you have not heard, Valentine's Day is next weekend. Make those reservations. And Open Table is offering the most romantic restaurant. So it's got a few from Chicago, and if you think they sound familiar, well, they are. We heard that Open Table kind of basically just recycled last year's list. So anyway, Mon Ami Gabi and Gaia's Cafe are on it. So is North Pond as well.
That's 3,650 feet of cigarette a year.
So what?
3/4 of a mile every year for 55 years. Pop, since you was 10, you smoked a cigarette 41 miles long.
One of the last surviving cast members of Sanford & Son has died. Damon Wilson played Lamont from the son part of Sanford & Son. His character was always having to deal with his father's, played by Red Fox, crazy schemes. When the show ended, Wilson became a minister. He died from cancer at the age of 79. Natalie Anthony.
Thank you, Gabby. And we want to revisit, of course, the big headline for today. Spring is on the way, all thanks to Woodstock Willie, who's getting some photo ops in today on his special day.
He was way more he is way more lively this morning.
Yes.
Than Punxsutawney Phil, who looked asleep at the wheel, no offense.
Phil could have been a stuffed animal for all we know.
I know.
Willie is for real. Look at this.
Yeah.
Oh, we went to say hi to that lady there. Hi there.
Look, trying to give her a little kiss.
Cute little guy.
Oh, man, that's good news from Willie. Not so good news from Punxsutawney Phil. So we're going to ignore that Pennsylvania rodent. Go with our local guy.
Exactly.
It was about 20 degrees when Willie came out of his hole there on the square in Woodstock. Stephen Tobolowsky made the announcement. And now we still have cloud cover, and there's some patches of drizzle because of below freezing. It's freezing drizzle, and that can lead to some slippery spots, not on salted roads, but maybe in your driveway, in a parking lot. Watch out for that. Could be one of those little sneaky things. There is one little area here of perhaps a burst of something a little bit more snow-like coming down. This would be going through Lincolnwood. Here's Peterson, and then you got another little snow shower maybe there around Elmhurst. Not a big deal, but we're going to keep this little light precip going for a couple more hours. High of 28 today. It's a lot warmer than it was last week. We have a west wind at 5 to 15. Check out the 7-day forecast. There's no real warmth in this week. It's just not as cold as last week. We got a 30 on Thursday, a 32 on Friday, a couple little minor light snow events, including another one coming in tonight. But after this colder weekend, 22 Saturday, 28 on Sunday, next week, we have a protracted period of time where we can see a thaw around here, and I got several days with highs in the 40s. All right, let's check back in with Mr. Ponce.
Okay, not good out there this morning. First up, I do want to mention that the two right lanes are blocked on the Jane Addams. That is I-90 westbound at Barrington Road. There's a backup all the way to Roselle. This accident actually happened hours earlier, 2:15 a.m., but it's still being investigated, and there's gapers on the other side of the roadway. So heads up there. Again, I-90 at Roselle Road, right near Barrington Road. All right, the rest of your travel times, you're at 54 minutes inbound on the Kennedy. You're at 58 minutes inbound on the Eisenhower. On the Stevenson, it's a 47-minute ride inbound from I-355 to DuSable Lakeshore Drive. And things really stacking up on the inbound Dan Ryan. I haven't seen 50 minutes from 95th to downtown in quite some time. On the good news side of things, Metro trains are back running normally.
Good deal. All right. Brand new tape of Michael Jackson talking about children is being released as part of a British documentary. The Trial is a 4-part series looking at Jackson's trial on child sexual abuse in 2005. The audio has never been played in public before. On the tape, Jackson is heard saying children love him, and it sometimes gets him in trouble. He also says if someone had told him he could never see another child, he would kill himself. The tape was recorded in 2005. He says he was innocent of abuse and it was a conspiracy. He was ultimately acquitted. He died in 2009.
Sometimes NASCAR races get rained out. You don't really hear about them getting snowed out. But this is the scene in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, as crews work to clear the track at Bowman Gray Stadium. The NASCAR Cup Series race, the Cookout Clash Out, was supposed to run this past weekend, but the snow forced it to be moved to Wednesday afternoon. It'll air right here on Fox. Weather permitting. Weather permitting.
I love Cookout Classic, though. What a great name for a race.
Yeah.
You know, we all have those days on the job, but unfortunately, for one Amazon driver, it was all caught on tape.
Got a million multi-stops because these people out here in Dearborn Heights, they can't go anywhere and get their own shit. So now I'm sitting out here delivering a million packages to a million and one houses. Jesus, bro. Don't nobody out here know how to go to Walmart or go to a Target or anything like that. These motherfuckers, bro. If you would let them, these motherfuckers right here would order slaves off Amazon, dog.
Okay, it seems the driver had it in Michigan with all of his stops in the snow. The person who was getting the package had ordered a thermos. Amazon is looking into the incident. So he must have been, what, talking on the phone to somebody?
Maybe. I'm wondering if he should maybe pursue another line of work that more aligns with what he's interested in, his passions.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't feel like it's a good fit.
I don't think so. No. Plenty more Good Day Chicago ahead. Keep it right here.
At Postman Law, we
Welcome back. A Wisconsin man watches his collection of classic cars destroyed by a fire. Chuck Hiller started collecting cars back in the 70s. Last month, he says a fire ran through one of his buildings. 11 of his cars were destroyed. None could be saved.
All the tires on every car were burned off. I consider myself very fortunate that I was able to save these cars. I'm really super glad that 6 are gone and 1 didn't burn.
He says his next move is to clean up and rebuild parts of his shop and that he will not start collecting cars anymore. The cause of that fire has not been determined. All right, a mountain lion found roaming San Francisco has been returned to a more natural habitat. The big cat was returned to the Santa Cruz Mountains over the weekend. The 2-year-old mountain lion caused a stir last week after people spotted him roaming around the city streets.